Have you ever wondered what your body's toxin report can look like, or really what it means, and how to turn those potential red flags into real action? So, in this episode, I have Dr. Paul Savage here breaking down my personal toxin report I just took. And we're showing this on screen so you can understand step by step what the numbers mean, what the toxins are, and also what the numbers mean and what it tells about your health, or in this case, my health. So knowing's only half the battle. So make sure to take action for yourself, get this test, and really dive in and see what it can do for you here. So let's dig in. Welcome back. Dr. Savage, it's great to have you again here. And I would say this is a kind of a carry-on from the last episode that we released, which was breaking down toxin tests, why the importance is of knowing your own data, the fact that there are a bunch of options, but the one that you're actually going to see right now is one that I got from Dr. Savage and MDLifespan, which was the urine test.
Right.
And it blew my mind. Like there was, I learned a lot from you, Dr. Savage, when you broke it down.
I'm going to blow your mind of all your readers right now, because there's things about this test that people don't know that opens totally different doors. And that's what my goal is when I want to educate people. Now, again, I have no relationship to Vibrant Wellness, Vibrant America at all. I'm not a stock owner. I'm just a doctor who uses this lab because this is the lab that our company has chosen because of different variables of cost, the number of toxins that they do, the ease of administration. These are all things that we brought into consideration. So I just put that disclaimer out there so everybody doesn't think that I'm making money on selling this test. I don't.
Yeah. And you do a great job. I got to give you a big credit because I am your client as well. And after I got this test, it was actually before I even got it. We had a call, and you made it very simple to understand. You gave me points on recommendations of what I could do now and also in the future, and I'll learn. Yeah, similarly to probably to what we'll be doing right now.
So, when we talk about toxin tests, people should listen to the previous episode so they can understand the differences between all the different toxin testing out there. What we're going to be talking about today is interpreting this test. And specifically, this is a urine test. It's very easy to do at home. You just don't drink a lot of fluid after 10 p.m. You wait till about 6 or 7 in the morning and you pee into a cup. You take that pee, you pour it into a tube, you put that tube into an envelope, you send the envelope to the lab. And then about 4 weeks later, the results come back like this. This report is divided into a couple different sections. One section is the summary page, which shows you every toxin that appeared in the moderate or high level, which is what you're seeing right here. Yep. And then you're going to see another page that has to do with what we call the descriptives. So they're telling you what mycotoxins are. Keep going down further, Joe. Going down. No, one more. Here. There you go. Scroll down just a little bit. This is a descriptive of the mycotoxin test. So this is just giving you information about the test. And then go down another couple pages.
A couple pages. Let's see.
Yep, right here. There. Now we're getting into the individual test, and that we'll talk about. This is not the summary of all the ones in the 75 and the 95. This is a results of all of the different test results by category. And if they did rank into the middle or moderate or high group, then you get a little descriptive about what that toxin is underneath it.
Oh, okay. I understand that.
Okay,
perfect.
So go all the way back up to the top, because what we want to talk about is a couple of different things. Probably the first and most important thing to understand is we're testing a lot of different types of toxins here. We're testing four basic categories: mycotoxins, environmentals. Environmentals are made up of multiple different categories. So I mean but we classify them all under environmentals. Then you have the heavy metals, and then you have the PFAS. So there's 4 categories that everybody fits in, but there's really 12 different types of toxins that we're looking for.
Got it.
And so most of them are under the environmentals. We'll get into that. So next to this, in this toxin that you're seeing here, what the summary page does is give you all the toxins out of the 109 that we did that registered in the upper 5%. And that's why it says you're in the upper 95th percentile. And those are all the ones that came into the red. And then below it, you can see all the toxins that came into the yellow or the moderate. You're between the 75th and the 95th percentile. The important thing for readers to understand here, for listeners to understand here, is this reference range is not the reference range of disease. This doesn't mean if you're green, you're healthy, and if you're yellow, you're a little sick, and if you're red, a lot of sick. That's not what this means. This is a graph of all the people that were tested in the United States on all these various toxins. And then they took out of all these people they did, the upper 5% that had this afloxacin M1, that was the number 6.4 that the upper 5% and above had. They had at least more than 6.4. So this isn't a test which shows you you're good to go, you're kind of sick, you're really sick. This shows you, in this case, that you're in the middle group of 75% to 95% of all Americans that have this toxin. Mm-hmm. Now here we come to that famous question I always give every episode. What's the normal level of toxins in a human being? And the answer is 0. There should be no mycotoxins. There should be no heavy metals. There should be no pesticides. One of the reasons it's called a toxin is because it's foreign to the body. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. So that's one thing. So another thing to realize is these reference ranges get changed every 10 years.
That's what I was going to ask.
They get updated every 10 years. And every 10 years, we have population that's more toxic. So these numbers keep moving up. We still have the same amount of people in the 5% range because that's 5% of the population. But that number has gone up considerably over the last 40 years. Wow. And so this test is, again, just measuring you in relationship to everybody else. So you can't only look at it on the ones that you're in the upper 5% and upper 25% on. You also have to look at it in the category of how toxic is this toxin. And we talked before, pesticides, plastics, PFAS, and mold. If you're one of those, I'm going to give you a lot higher ranking because you don't have to have much of those to be considered uber toxic or super toxic.
Right. Interesting. And it looks like for each one, it has these symbols as well, right? On the far left side here.
Yeah. So the symbols on the far right side, that's the symbol for mold. That's the afloxacin G1. Underneath it, the DDA, that's the symbol for environmental toxin. Mm-hmm. Keep going down. I'm not sure you have any more of those. Oh, there's antimony and barium. That symbol's for heavy metals. Okay. And keep going down. Yep, you have a couple PFAs at the bottom. That's the symbol for forever chemicals, the PFAs. So they have 4, as I mentioned, they have 4 categories: mycotoxins, environmental, heavy metals, and PFAs. Those symbols tell you which group they belong in.
Got you. Okay. So, and this is, we're looking at the moderate. Actually, this is a continuation of the moderate toxins here for me. So
now here's another thing. We've tested thousands and thousands of people across the United States with the same test in the last 2 years, like 3,400, something like that. This is a lot of tests. Yeah. The average number of toxins in the upper and moderate range per healthy person is 13.2. With 5 of those being in the upper 95% and 8 of those being in the moderate range.
Got you.
Okay.
I have a lot, is what you're telling me.
Well, comparatively, you have 5 in the upper range.
That's true.
When you compare to your average to the other people that we tested, but you have much more than 8 in the lowest, because right there's 7.
Yep, 7 plus
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 17. You have 7. So your total number is 22, right? Did I do my math right there?
I believe so. Yep.
No, 24. 17 plus 7.
Oh, no, 7, yeah.
No, 17 plus 5, 22, with 5 in the upper and 22 in the moderate. So that already puts you, in our view, at a considerably increased risk. Even though you're healthy, normal, don't have any medical problems, we kind of look at this and, we've kind of started differentiating in our group the number between 18 and 22 when we start getting the fact that, you've got to do something about this more than just avoidance.
Yeah. Well, avoidance is not the answer. That's for sure.
Well, it's an answer to keep them from going higher. But it's not an answer how to get them down.
I guess I thought of avoidance of the results once you see your data.
Yeah. No, when I mean avoidance therapy, I'm talking about how you filter your air, filter your water, clean your food, get rid of the cosmetics, get rid of the chemicals in the house, change all the kitchen utensils to something that's safe and effective. That's what we call avoidance therapy. You're avoiding the toxins in the first place. Everybody has to do that. Yes. And if you want to know how to do that, go to mdlifespan.com and look for guidebooks and download all the guidebooks, because we give that information out freely. We not only tell you how to do it, but what you can replace it with. And we really give people steps to make it happen for them that is not very cost expensive.
That's right. Yeah, get the guidebooks. That's actually a really good, mdlifespan.com/guidebooks.
When it comes to getting you better.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Good. Let's see. That was the last one, right, for me? Okay, it was. Yeah, so that's the total there.
The urine creatinine that you looked at last line there, that's just, if you're in the green, that means we don't have to adjust the variables. But if you're really super concentrated and you're in the upper past the 2.16, that means we have to dilute your results because your kidneys are too concentrated, and we want everybody to be within this certain concentration range. So we equilibrate it by the kidney, which is really a brilliant way of doing it, because then if somebody comes in really dehydrated, they show a lot of concentration, then we get to water it down a little bit because it's their dehydration.
That's what that means.
That much. So yeah, that's what we're doing with the urine creatinine is if you're too high, we dilute it down. If you're too low, we concentrate it.
Got it. That makes sense. Well, I'm hydrated, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, you're good there.
Got that going. All right, what else should we be looking at here?
Well, so go down now. So go down. So that's just the mycotoxins and the ones in the high. You have a lot of molds. Again, we talk about a lot very frequently, the forever chemicals, the pesticides, and the plastics, what we call the 3 Ps, and the mold.
Yep.
And mold is very dangerous. And people are like, well, mold's been around forever. It has. But mycotoxins at this level of concentration have not.
Right. Well, this one specifically, right?
There's a lot of them, but I mean mold in general. People confuse. So we put all our grain now in these silos and we leave it there for years, and then we pull it out of the silo and we treat it with with a mold killer, which kills all the mold, but that doesn't kill the toxin that the mold had already made.
Which is in the grain.
In these silos, these molds are making toxins. These so that they survive. They make these toxins, and they make a lot of it. And then after all these years, you have all these mold with all their toxins, and we pull the grains out and we kill the mold. The toxins remain. That's why we have such higher levels of toxins today and mold toxins, because all of our grain comes from silos. Unless you specifically get the Amish and their freshly ground wheat, or the Mennonites. I mean, you can do that. And I tell people all the time, this is one of the things that people like. I go to a foreign country and I eat the bread and I don't get weight. Why? Because they don't have the mycotoxins in their breads that we do.
It's true. My wife is sensitive to gluten. We went to France, had all the bread in the world, and she loved it. It felt great.
She's not sensitive to gluten. She's sensitive to the toxins that are that are with.
Absolutely.
After this whole journey, what I really learned here is like, there are a lot of health conscious people. I think I'm considering myself one as well. But there's a lot of things, no matter what you do, how much you pay attention to it, how much you avoid it, and sometimes it just got in. And I think TPE gave me a good opportunity to restart my body again.
What would you say, like on this point of mold, and maybe this dedicates to a whole different episode too, but what are some other foods?
It's a whole episode that you're going to get with Dr. Jill Carnahan, because she's the expert on mold.
She's coming up. That is true. She's booked in. So what's, but really quick. So a lot of grains, I know environmental, even, air conditioning units, right?
Two things, Joe.
Oh.
Wood houses and grains.
Wood houses too. That makes sense. Yeah.
That's where we get black mold from. So you have black mold. That's the one that's STC, second from the bottom. That's black mold.
Oh.
So in the mold world, that's only moderate, but that's the one that's super deadly.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Okay.
And then one of the other ones that's super deadly is FB1, which you don't have, but that's like a huge carcinogen.
Okay.
There's a lot of molds that are MPA, mycophenolic acid, terrible. We can talk about that, but the Zen on the bottom, that's terrible. So you got a lot of molds that I told you. It's like, I'm more concerned about those 2 at the bottom, even though they're moderate, than I am on the 3 on the top.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
Because they're much higher toxicity of those 2.
Uh-huh.
So it's not how much you got, but it's how toxic is that. Now, all mycotoxins are highly toxic, and those 2 are the extreme of the toxic.
Got it. Okay. I learned something new.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the
So
what? One
go
of
down to the
these
next category right there.
right here?
So
Yep.
now,
Oh, yep.
now that's just now you're just looking at all the different molds by their levels, and the greens they don't report. But go down a little bit.
Okay, so we're going to go down to this one
Yep.
here, I think it is.
Now we're getting to the heavy metals,
Mm-hmm.
and you can see that you have 5 of them in the moderate. Now, of those heavy metals, is there any of those that you think might be worse than the other one? It gets a lot of
Lead seems like the worst.
and it gets a lot of publicity, rightfully so.
Uh-huh.
Rightfully so. Gadolinium doesn't get a lot of notoriety. It should, because we use a lot in MRIs, and it makes a lot of people very sick. And previously to plasma exchange, there was no way to get gadolinium out.
Wow. Okay.
Now we get it out almost 100% after just 3 plasma exchanges.
How about these other ones? Well, tungsten is.
Tungsten, that's the heaviest metal in the world, so it's very oxidative. Antimony and barium are both what we consider moderate toxicities.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, really lead and
Lead's the good
Yeah.
one. Lead's the big one there. Yep.
that's the one. Yeah.
But you know,
Okay.
interestingly enough, we're starting to see people with uranium now, and we never did that before. But since the Fukushima, Japan explosion, and now all that uranium has drifted across the Pacific, we're seeing it on the West Coast almost exclusively right now.
Yep.
So, and it's almost in every single person on the West Coast. Uranium toxicity. If you want to know how bad that is, just look up Hiroshima or
Yeah.
Nagasaki, and you'll find out how bad uranium
Oh, man.
toxicity is.
So that would be considered a heavy metal, or that's how.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm on the West Coast. I don't have it, but is that like a lot of fish eating people? What do you see?
It's just,
No.
it's drifted over. It's in the air. It's in the soil.
Air and
It's in the plant. It's everywhere. And
Wow.
we're seeing about 25% of the people on the West Coast have it now. Not much
Okay.
in the rest of the United States, although it will make its way from coast to coast.
Wow.
Because that's the
Okay.
thing about these toxins that people have to remember. These toxins used to be isolated to their little niche, like PFAS were in fish and mercury were in fish. But now everything's in everything. It's gotten to the point that everything's in the air, everything's in the body. It's just like smoke. You may smoke in one room of the house, but eventually that smell will get every room of the house on every piece of furniture because the way it distributes through the house if you smoke enough.
That's true. Yeah. Cigarette smokers. Yeah. Yeah. Or, yeah. All right. So moving on down here.
Well, this is just
Yeah.
taking all of the heavy metals that we tested for here, and see, you have a lot of uranium. You're right at the 0.02. That's
Oh,
the
yeah.
cutoff. So but what's the normal amount of uranium in a person, Joe?
This is zero.
0. I mean, so you got. I mean, so that's what I mean. It's like everybody on the West Coast has a lot of uranium now, and that's one that we're really concerned about for patients. Now you have quite a bit of mercury as well. You almost got up to 0.53. You almost passed the threshold.
Oh, right. Yep. Interesting.
Yeah.
And that's, well, it's, yeah. This one's a little higher. Yeah. So this top page is really just, again, showing
Yeah, so
70%.
that's what I always tell people. I was like, then you got to look down to the individuals, because even though you may not have made the green, you got pretty close to it on the cadmium.
Oh, yeah. Right over here.
Cadmium's another
sorry.
radioactive particle.
Oh,
And so it's like, okay, that's what I said. And so even though you only have, what was it, 6 or 5 or 6 that were registered.
5. Yeah.
Now look down below at that. How many have a significant bar? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Yep.
So it is like,
Jeez.
that's why I said you got to look deeper, because just because it didn't meet the green bar doesn't mean that it's safe. And I can tell you, cadmium, the level needs to be 0. Mercury, your level needs to be 0. Lead, your level needs to be 0. Uranium, your level needs to be 0. These things are highly toxic.
And are you seeing, so with TPE, are you seeing some big improvements with these specifically as well?
We get huge improvements on the heavy metals. Matter of fact,
Wow.
Even within 3 plasma exchanges, the vast majority of the metals are markedly reduced.
Wow. Okay.
Metals actually come out better with TPE than any other formation. And also, I tell people all the time, historically, we used to chelate. We used chelators. Those are chemicals that you drink or get in intravenously, and they look like a crab. And so what they do is they walk up to the heavy metal, they grab it, and once they grab it, now the particle is big enough the kidney can see it, and the kidney can excrete it. So so you're provoking the kidney to excrete this material by adding this chelator. But chelators only work with 6 of these heavy metals. The other 14 it doesn't work with.
Wow. Okay.
So, I mean, and you take all the chelators combined, and you're only dealing with 6 different chemicals that they really chelate very well. And the other 14, they don't. That's one of the problem with gadolinium. We've been using DPTS for years. It's a chelator. It got out some of the gadolinium, but all the other chelators didn't work. This protocol of TPE removes virtually all the gadolinium within 3 TPEs. We've never seen that before in medicine.
Wow. Well, and you even said in your background, right? Like there was a point where you were testing and seeing all of these things where you're like, I can't do anything about it.
Yeah,
right?
there came a point about 5 years before we started MD-Lifespan that I really was trying to dissuade patients from doing toxin testing. They're like, why? I said, because I can't get them out. See, 30 years ago when I started working, people would have none of these. This is not what it looked like 30 years ago. They might have mercury, they might have lead, but now they have 14. But before they only had 1, and all the rest were not visible. And I could use chelators on that person to make them better because the problem was mercury, and mercury I could get out. But today, the whole forest is on fire. So just going in and taking out 1 or 2 trees, if I took out 1 or 2 of these chemicals, it's not going to change your equation here. You still have 12 other ones that are super high.
So you were looking at the numbers and not having a procedure to back it up. And
it's just that the number of toxins in every different aspect became so overwhelming. No single therapy for any single toxin became effective because just pulling that one toxin out when you had
wouldn't do anything.
So here we go with that math again. This test tests for about 100 toxins. Currently in the United States, there's 150,000 toxins. So we took representative of all this. So if we really wanted to see how many toxins were in the moderate or high level for you, we would take the number that you had in the high and moderate, which was 22, multiply it by 1,500, because 1,500 times 100 would be 150,000. So 1,500 times 22 is 33,000. You really have 33,000 toxins in the moderate and high range, not just 22. We're only testing for 1/10 of 1% of all the toxins that are in the United States environment.
Wow. And that's just because the tests are there, or they're maybe
a lot of them we can't test for.
We just can't do
it. We literally have tests for maybe 300-400 of these chemicals that are available, maybe 500 now, that are available through the government and available clinically. This is probably the best test that we have, but there's other ones we can't in. But even if I added all of them together, I'm probably only getting up to 200 to 300. Out of most of these tests, we can't even test for.
Jeez. Okay. So we got a long way to come still, but
yeah.
And it seems though
for toxin testing is people get these test results and they're like, and they don't see any in the moderate or high level. Maybe I got 3. Nobody's negative anymore. Everybody's got at least 3. That's the lowest we've ever seen. But when you start looking at these other numbers below, and all these other numbers are coming up to the green, honestly, in many of those cases, like mercury, you need to get mercury down to 0.
Yeah.
Uranium down to 0. I mean, no uranium is good in the body.
So what would those specifically? I mean, what kind of effects to
mercury,
the body?
Mercury is well known as being a neurotoxic, so it's related to Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and dementia and cognitive decline. Uranium is a radioactive, so it's related to cancer. Everything that uranium touches turns into cancer. Most specifically, thyroid and glandular tissues like testicles and ovaries tend to be most susceptible. But it can present as brain cancer. It can present as all sorts of different things. So, uranium is basically known for cancer. Mercury is basically known for all the other.
Got it. Okay, so let's move on. Let's kind of. I think that was that the last big one actually.
Yeah. So I mean, this is a good place to end the talk here today because we talked about all these different ones. Now, why don't you just show the PFAs, which is right near the bottom.
Right near the bottom. We'll go this one.
Yep, that one. So here's the PFAs. These are the forever chemicals. These are the ones that the government on the CDC website says highly toxic, bad news, avoid these at all costs, because there previously wasn't a way to get these out of the system. And these are really resistant to being pulled out because all the PFAS, the pesticides, the plastics, and the mycotoxins, they're what we call fat soluble. The fat loves to store them, and that makes them harder to get out. So even the PFAs, you had, I think, 2 of them listed, but you have a number of them that are getting up there also, and none of these are good players.
Yeah. Right, and this one's pretty close. Yeah. Yep. Wow. Yeah, and this, I mean, there's so much to even just study and understand what each one of these are. But
On
the point
our
is,
protocol with MDLifespan, even on every single one, the basic protocol with the plasma exchange, with the nutrients and the avoidance therapy, we're getting the average amount of PFAs we're getting down by 50%. Now, 30 to 50%. Now, people are like, well, that's not 100%. No, but if you're at that, let's take that PFHXS, like yeah, that one right there, it's at 0.215. If I got 50% of that down, you're at 0.1.
that's huge.
That's markedly lower than where you are right now and well into the lower 75 range. The PFAs haven't gotten up to the red yet, so we're not getting the 95% reduction that we see, because as you get closer to zero, it gets harder to remove them. That's just math. I mean, it's just the way body works. The less cigarette packets you got around the house to pick up, the harder it is to find them.
Right.
That's just as an example.
Yeah.
So as we always do, Joe, ending this conversation with all the listeners, go do your toxic testing. You don't know what you don't know is going to hurt you.
That's it. Know your data. You have the availability, the ability, that is, to even do this and do it for yourself.
Any logical decisions on what you need to do or how you need to proceed forward without knowing exactly where you are.
That's right. Dr. Paul Savage, I appreciate you and your time, man.
Our website, or whether you get that from your doctor or your integrator, it doesn't matter. But go to your doctor and get a toxin test done.
Get it done. Well, thank you again for opening my eyes to my own results, but just sharing it. I've been waiting to do this, so I'm happy we're able to, and hopefully someone here triggered something in your mind to go like, okay, gotta go. Like that was the needle, in the haystack there I was looking for. So, thank you very much, and we'll do it again soon.
Thanks.